Please welcome our President and leader, Mary Lindquist.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Mary Lindquist, and 6 years ago I stood before you and asked for your support and to thank you. 6 years later, again, I must thank you for all the support that you have shown me over these last 6 years, but much, much, much more importantly, to thank you for the work you have done for our students, our professions, and our schools. The last 6 years, God knows, have not been easy. And despite the glimmers of a strengthening economy, I can give you no assurance that the next 6 years are going to be any easier. I think you know that. And I think you are prepared for the fights that lie ahead. But just last week, I received a message from a member in Chimacum. Todd Miller wrote about his father, an active conservationist, fighting 5 decades ago to prevent the construction of a highway along the Washington coast, from Cape Flattery to the Whole River. He was a guy who would talk to any captive audience. He would show them his slides and his pictures of the wild beaches. His wasn't the only voice, but his voice added a few more drops to a stream of activism that saved one small corner of our natural world, Todd wrote. Todd drew a parallel to WEA's request for our members to write to legislators. Todd acknowledged that our members were discouraged, angry, frustrated, and understandably so. But through it all, we have written letters, called legislators, attended town hall meetings, worn enough t-shirts and buttons to fill a closet or two. And what did it get us? Not raises, not lower class size. Sometimes it feels like it got us darn little, even if the Supreme Court did side with us. But Todd answered those understandable complaints by our colleagues. He wrote that without our efforts, things would have been much worse. Without our 184,000 phone calls, we would have had a governor who would have taken away our collective bargaining rights, as happened in Ohio and Wisconsin, Michigan, Alabama, and elsewhere. Without our messages on our voice, we would have lost our bargaining rights over health care, and our health care costs would be even higher than they are today. And without our advocacy in our local bargains and in Olympia, we would have been like Tennessee or other states where 30 or 50% of a teacher's evaluation is based upon student test scores. Yeah, things could have been much worse, and there's little satisfaction in that. The real question before us today is quite simply, are we going to improve things in the next 6 years, or will we settle for the cold comfort of it could have been worse? My friends, that is up to us. We get to decide. Are we satisfied making bad ideas less bad? Or do we actually want to improve our schools, our professions, and public education? It is up to us. Standing up for our students' education, it is up to us. Standing up for the middle class, it is up to us. Advocating for the kind of reforms that we know will really make a difference in our classrooms for our students, well, it is up to us. Why did you and I become teachers, educators, professionals? Because we want to make a difference. We work to make things better for the next generation. And that's what President Obama acknowledged when he recognized Jeff Carbonneau, a STEM teacher and co-president of the Zilla Education Association, as the National Teacher of the Year. President Obama acknowledged that we don't go into this line of work for light hours and an easy job. We do it because of our passion for our students. And during that rose ceremony, Jeff responded to the president's remarks. He pointed to the few wrinkles he has, and he says, "You see these wrinkles? Wrinkles are born witness to the hours of laughter and the moments of joy that come from sharing the art of discovery with our students." Jeff nailed it. Jeff will be with us later today, so we can honor him. And he will be quick to tell you, as I heard him tell a group of teachers a few weeks ago, he is only one of many, many outstanding educators in our state. Another one is Karen Britt, a kindergarten teacher in Seattle. She knows how her students begin their academic careers is critical to their future success. She has 27 kindergartners. That's right, 27 squirmy, squirrely 5- and 6-year-olds, including the ones she calls her musketeers. You know the types, mostly boys, lots of energy, kind of on the younger side, very little attention. And when the school started in September, she had 6 musketeers. Within a couple months, she had it down to 3. And now I understand that Ms. Britt has 27 kindergartners, but no musketeers. That's the power of experience. Teaching 5- and 6-year-olds that they're responsible for their own actions. She knows it's up to her to set the expectations, to set the example. She partners with parents and other teachers and with her principal to make sure these kids get the right start to their education. Yep, like Ms. Britt, it's up to us. Sharon Dolan, 4th grade teacher in Kelso. She knows it's up to us. Her school has over 80% of the students receiving free and reduced lunch. Experience tells us that not many of those kids would be college-bound. It is not something that is that present in their environment. 4th grade is a step up for students. The academic standards are harder. The expectations are higher. Kids feel that. And it's where we start to lose some of them. Sharon recognized this about 15 years ago and saw a way to open their eyes to a better future. In her own words, most of these kids had no idea about college, so I wanted to give them an experience that they would remember. Plant a seed for the fence sitters to give them a reason to keep trying and to set a goal for continued learning. I wanted them to know that there were ways that they could access higher education, that there were scholarships and grants and loans. I wanted to let them know that there were options for them if they stuck it out and did their best. So every year since 1999, Sharon has taken every single 4th grader from Barnes Elementary to Lower Columbia College for a day of classes taught by professors. The kids have a full day, starting with a conversation with the college president, then a visit to the bookstore, 3 short classes, they are 4th graders, with real professors, followed by lunch with student athletes. The theme remains the same throughout the day. Stay in school, work hard, become a good reader, a good writer, and be able to understand math. Be a good citizen. Set goals so you can have a productive life and achieve your dreams. College is there for you, and you can make it happen. The trips have been so effective that even a parent once inquired about how to re-enter school to get her GED. My favorite part of Sharon's story, Last year, one of her former students was teaching the chemistry class and got to tell her students about the time he was a fourth grader and went to college for a day. You know, it is up to us. And just this week, Battleground Schools passed its levy. In November, when their levy failed with a mere 44% of the vote in support, and then the district would literally have had to close its doors if that levy had not passed a second time. Our colleagues in Battleground decided that was not okay. With a little help from WEA and NEA staff, they decided it was up to them to pass that levy. WEA provided some organizational support for the campaign, and with a big focus on getting out the pro-education vote. But Battleground members provided the muscle, the night after night after night of phone banks, and it worked. As Ellen Jocelyn told us last night, the levy passed, picking up a 10% increase to pass at over 54%. And let's remember that simple majority is sufficient only because of the work we did years ago to change this state's constitution. It was up to us then, it is up to us today. These are the stories that you have shared with me over the last 6 years, and these are the stories that inspire me. They help me to see the strength of working for something larger than ourselves, and out of recognition that each one of us, on our own and collectively, can and do make a difference. It is up to us, individually and collectively. Friends, we all know our jobs have become more challenging. Our work has become harder. The complexities on how public schools operate, the expectations placed on each one of you, the demands from our communities and the politicians have grown exponentially over the years, and the pressures of all those changes are landing squarely on your shoulders. If there ever was a time when teachers could go into their classroom, close the door, and simply teach, those days are gone. Not just for teachers, but for all of us, for the parapros, the librarians, our counselors, college faculty and staff. Not only have our jobs changed, but the way change happens is also different today. At one time, district-level initiatives and pressures from our own communities were driving changes into the classroom. But today it's the long arm of the federal government, the long arm of the state government that reaches into every classroom, into every work site. That long arm bypasses our districts, often bypassing our local collective bargaining agreements. The federal government under President Obama's, regardless of what you think of his policies, has leveraged big changes in our schools by dangling a few desperately needed federal dollars in front of buildings and principals. With Race to the Top, school waivers, school improvement grants, teacher incentive funds, and all those various programs, our schools and our state have turned themselves and us inside out. Together, these federal initiatives have forever changed our classrooms. Think about it. Just think about it. It's really quite amazing. Federal dollars driving specific changes in specific buildings, in specific programs, in specific classrooms. Now, I'm not here to say these changes were good or bad. I'm simply asking you to acknowledge the reality. Decisions are made differently now than they used to be. And it is up to us to change our behavior if we hope to effect these changes. Frankly, I'm tired, and I know you are too, of what Joel Mehta called in the New York Times recently the false polarization between figures like Michelle Rhee, the former Washington, D.C. schools chancellor and now director of Students First, and education historian Diane Ravitch, who decries the long-run efforts to privatize our public schools. Now, while our hearts may lie with Diane Ravitch, we also know that not all of our schools are as successful as we want them to be. And that's because, in part, our students in many of those schools don't come to school prepared to learn. They don't come well-fed, secure, and with the support system they need to apply themselves to learning. But we know what it takes. Even in our poorest communities, or maybe I should say especially in our poorest communities, we know what it takes to create successful schools. A clear mission, talented educators, time for professionals to work together, to reflect and support each other, longer school days or after-school programs, feedback cycles where everyone is able to continuously improve. That's what we've learned from those schools in our state which competed for and were awarded a federal school improvement grant. Look at one example, Tulalip Quilceda in Marysville. The teachers, the support professionals, administrators, and community and association all focused on the same goal, providing a great public education for each child. Extensive professional development, not the kind of fix-the-teacher stuff, but real professional development to figure out ways to really make a difference in a student's learning. High standards for students and for educators, deep and authentic collaboration on a regularly scheduled basis. As one of those teachers, Thomas Sturm, said, we're able to use our collaboration time together to really study what we should focus on and what our next steps should be in our instruction. It's like my colleague Michael Shoemaker at Mercer Island High School said to me years ago, give me a manageable task and I will give you excellence. It's up to us to build the teams of educators to take control of our schools, to create that shared vision with parents and community members, to build into our days time for collaboration and to bargain an evaluation system that offers each and every professional the opportunity to be a better educator. It is up to us. Last night, Tom Ahern reminded us what we have accomplished when we set the course to sue the state over its failure to fully fund our schools. Tomorrow morning, we will be standing on the steps of the Legislative Building in Olympia with the Supreme Court at our backs to send a clear message to legislators, because it is up to us. If the legislature were going to fully fund our schools, if they were prepared to live up to the state's Constitution, the promise the Constitution makes to each and every one of our students, if lawmakers had the will to do what is morally imperative, they would have done it a long time ago. Friends, let's stop pretending otherwise. It is up to us. We cannot sit back and expect someone else to do for us what we can do for ourselves. That's why your leadership team is asking you to approve a new business item calling for our association once again to take the needs of our schools to the voters. If we want lower class sizes, if we want salaries that attract and retain highly qualified educators, then we need to lock arms and take our case to the voters. I don't know if the right time for an initiative is in the fall of 2013, or maybe it makes more sense to wait to the election cycle of 2014. We can figure out the best timing. But if the words of the Supreme Court are to be heeded, it is up to us. Who knows better than we do the difference a kindergarten class of 15 would make to a student who walks into school? I mean, who knows better than we do a difference it would make for that kid who has never held a pencil in his hand before he walks into school? Who knows better than we do how important an art class or a class in auto mechanics is to keeping a kid engaged in school? Who knows better than we do the difference a counselor can make in a student's life when that counselor has time to counsel and not just push paper? Even after 30 years, 2 Supreme Court rulings, retained jurisdiction, directives from the court to the legislature, it is clear the paramount duty won't be funded unless we do something. And when that new funding begins to flow, and I think we will make sure that happens, the reality is the money will come with strings. Our challenge is to be organized and powerful enough to be included in the discussion and the resolution of just what those strings say and how they are applied. I am proud, and you should be too, that we have been able to learn from the lessons of Ohio and Wisconsin and Michigan and Alabama and other places where our colleagues lost control of their state governments and became victims to the anti-labor movement sweeping parts of this country. At the same time, I am mindful, while the election results in 2012 went our way, largely because of the hard work you did, and as a result of that, our core rights and ability to exist as a union is, for the moment, secure. But that security is fleeting. We only have to look at what happened this session to a modest dream for those students in our classrooms who lack the documentation or whose parents lack the documentation to be in this country. The votes were there to pass that DREAM Act in both the House and the Senate. But one man, a single person, could wield so much power as to kill that dream. It takes no more, no less power to wipe away our ability to collect dues, to wipe away our ability to collectively bargain, to wipe away our due process rights. The threat is still there. It is real. It is only slightly more remote than it would have been had the election gone the other way last fall. Friends, we are a strong and powerful union. We have a long and rich history of success, but we are not powerful enough. We are powerful enough to elect a governor. We are powerful enough to protect good friends like Senator Rosemary McCullough. We are powerful enough to defeat most of the attacks on our professions. But we are not yet powerful enough to control the debate over teaching and learning and our professions. It is up to us to build a stronger union. We need to build a stronger union at the local level to deal with the challenges of that long arm of the federal and state governments. We need to build a stronger union to take control of our professions. We need to build a stronger link with our communities so our parents stand with us and speak more loudly than they ever have before in our fight to fully fund our schools. We need to build a straight organization so that we can set the agenda and let others react to us for a change of pace. How about that? Think what that would mean. A fully funded education for every child in this state, WEA members at every table with administrators and lawmakers and funders and parents, collaborating for the best ways to educate our students, to measure their progress, to develop teacher leaders and parapro leaders, and by the way, to ensure that we all make a decent living. Collective bargaining rights maintained and extended to our colleagues in the two-year technical and community colleges, affordable tuition, oh, the list just goes on and on. Friends, you know what I'm going to say to you. We can do this, but it is up to us. We cannot fail in this effort. There are too many people, too many students counting on us. It is up to us. Again, let me thank you for 6 great years, for the opportunity to serve as your president. It has been the greatest honor to work on your behalf, on the behalf of our students, our professions, and our 82,000 members. Thank you.